The representative of Hamilton has the floor.
Hey guys, how's it going? PinkyThumb here, coming to you from downtown Hamilton, Ontario, a province which just had a decisive election. After each party had only a month to campaign, we have the results. The PC government has won a third majority. It comes as a shock to nobody. They literally had a slightly less than 99% chance of having this outcome. But why is this the case? Ontario is a pretty left-leaning place, all things considered. How come before the election even happened, the PC's majority victory was basically guaranteed? Well, the issue at its core is that Ontario elections and elections throughout Canada in general are very unfair, and often the actual outcome that a majority of people want doesn't actually happen. There's a lot of apathy and cynicism in Ontario towards our elections. A lot of people who think their vote doesn't matter. As much as I disagree with people who don't vote, the feeling that your voice in these elections just doesn't matter is a completely valid way to feel. And that's why I wanted to spend this video talking about how there is truly one solution to all of this. A solution to end voter apathy, to end the feeling that your voice doesn't matter, where constituencies are represented properly. It won't universally fix all of our problems, but the main issues that we have with voting here, all of that could end with one policy: electoral reform. So today we're going to talk about electoral reform, how our elections here in Ontario are unfair, and the winners in each riding don't actually represent what that riding wants, and how we can make voting in this country better and more fair using the ranked choice method. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Oh, boo-hoo, his candidate didn't win. He wants to change how the system works because his candidate didn't win. It's not that. It's about fairness for all of the parties and making sure that citizens get the representatives they want and not one person who gets a minority of the vote. So come join me at the whiteboard over here as I describe how we can save Canadian democracy. Let's do it. All right, so first we're going to start by talking about the election that just happened in a method that we use called first past the post. What first past the post means is that it doesn't matter the places of the other candidates, it's a winner-take-all scenario. It's the simplest way of doing elections. If you get the most votes, you win. It sounds all good and democratic and fair until you start to break it down. And for this example, we're going to use a riding in my own city to demonstrate: Hamilton Mountain. It was one of the few ridings in the election that Doug Ford was able to flip from orange to blue. So the PCs took the mountain from the NDP with 36% of the vote. Meanwhile, the Ontario Liberal Party got 30%. This marker sucks. NDP got 26%, and the Green Party got 4%. Now, do you see the problem here? Let's look at this from the political standpoint of your average person. The PCs are a right-leaning party. They got 36% of the vote in a very different place than the other three parties, which are all left-wing. And all the left-wing parties, if you combine their votes, actually got 60% of the vote on Hamilton Mountain. So now when you divide things more politically, just over a third of Hamilton Mountain voted for a right-wing party, and nearly 2/3 voted for a left-wing party, yet the right-wing party wins. What this scenario unfortunately does is it makes strategically voting for the right party a big part of elections, and it's a big turnoff for a lot of people. You might be a huge fan of the NDP, but you think the Liberals have a better chance of unseating the PC, so you want to vote for them even though you agree with them more. So people aren't even voting for the candidate they like the most, they're just voting for the candidate they think can beat the other candidate. So to recap, Hamilton Mountain is a left-leaning part of the city where 60% of people voted for a left-wing party. However, because there are more left-wing options, it means this 60% of the left-wing vote is all scattered amongst multiple parties, while people on the right side of the political spectrum can consolidate all their votes into one party, giving the solo right-leaning party a massive advantage in all elections across all ridings. And then people voting for these parties start to strategically vote instead. They vote not for the party they want to win, but the party that has the best chance of unseating whoever's in charge. Because this is how elections work, and it's stupid, and you should have the confidence in your electoral system to vote for the party you want to vote for with no shame that you're just gonna throw away your vote. Trevor in the editing booth here, and I did just want to quickly point out, I've been talking a lot about how this benefits left-leaning parties, but historically, the same thing can happen to the right side of the political spectrum too. If you were alive for the 1990s in Canada, you probably remember there were multiple right-wing parties. There was the Progressive Conservative Party, the Alliance Party, it starts with an R, Reform Party. So vote splitting and strategic voting can happen no matter what side of the political spectrum you are. It's just that at this point in time, first past the post benefits the PC party because at the moment they're the only right-wing party in Ontario. Okay, back to the video. So let's talk about the solution that many European countries have been using. Instead of this stupid, shitty, barbaric, old first past the post method, let's talk about ranked choice. And I promise you, it is not as complicated as you might think. All right, so here we are again with Hamilton Mountain and the results down here. And I've got some little bar graphs down here that you can see. It's gonna be a useful visual later. So when ranked choice voting, the person who comes in first place at the very end of the night doesn't mean they've actually won the election. On a standard ballot in Ontario, you have the list of the parties and their representatives, and you go ahead and just cross one off. That's your only vote. That's the one person you vote for. You're telling the government, out of all of these parties, out of all of the available options we have, I believe this one is the best one. But ranked choice is a little bit different. It's in the name. Instead of just crossing out one candidate as your vote, you get to rank them like a tier list in order from who you would most like to see win to who you absolutely do not want to win. So say you're an NDP voter. You would put number 1 for NDP, maybe number 2 for the Green Party, number 3 for the Liberals, and likely as an NDP voter, you'd probably put Doug Ford's PCs in dead last. So filling out your ballot would be a little different and a little bit more complicated too. How exactly does ranking candidates like this do anything to help? Doesn't that just mean I have to do more research? Figure out not only who I want to vote for, but what order I want them in? Well, sure, it might be slightly more complicated. Maybe you gotta do a little bit more research, but by God, it is so much more fair. It actually represents what the people want in their community, and over time, it will make people more eager to go to the polls, because it'll feel like the system is less rigged against them. So let me show you in practice how this ranked choice changes everything. So we can clearly see from the results of the Hamilton Mountain election that there was absolutely zero chance the Green parties were gonna win. And they came in last place out of the 4 major parties. In the normal first past the post scenario that we live under, this just means that Green Party voters just wasted their vote. Your vote was just about meaningless. It didn't matter at all. However, in ranked choice, that 4% for the Green Party is really important. The Green Party still, of course, is not gonna win, but that 4% that voted for Green to win also ranked their other choices. So let's make it simple. Let's say out of this 4% right here, 50% of them had the NDP as their second choice, 50% had the Liberals as their second choice, and none of them had Conservatives as their second choice. So since the Green Party is absolutely not winning this election, anyone who put the Green Party as their first choice, their vote will now be deferred to their second choice. And now suddenly, we take away the Green Party, and the NDP go from 26 to 28%, and the Liberals rise from 30 to 32. But then, we repeat the process again for who's in last now, in this case, the NDP. So now we look at the second choice from the NDP voters. And let's quickly say for hypothetical that most of them voted for the Green Party as their second choice. Since we eliminated the Green Party because they were in last place, your vote then gets deferred to your third choice. But for simplicity's sake, let's just say nobody in the NDP voted for the Green Party. Let's say that 80% of NDP voters had the Liberals as their second choice, and 20% had the Conservatives as their second choice. Now I gotta do math. Fun. The NDP gets canceled out for being in third, their votes move up, and now we have a result of 43.2% of the votes going to PC, and a whopping 57.6% that goes to the Liberals. Now, doesn't this look more like what Hamilton Mountain actually wanted? So with the scenarios that I described, in a ranked choice voting system, the Hamilton Mountain would have been won by the Liberals. But in our first past the post winner take all system, the victory handily goes to the PC party. Despite the fact a majority, not just the minority, a majority of people on the Hamilton Mountain do not want a right-wing representative. And if you need a visual aid to help you understand, that's why I got these at the bottom here. You take the Green Party votes, move them on to the NDP and the Liberals because they didn't vote for the Conservatives. Then you take last place out again, that's the NDP. You add their second place votes to the totals, and roughly this is how it's gonna look. So to simply recap, if you vote for a party that comes in last place, your vote then goes to the party who came in second place. If your second place vote doesn't win, it goes to the third place vote. And you keep going down until there's only 2 parties left. You add up everybody's vote, everybody's rank, and you get to this. So it's no surprise why the PC government absolutely 100% does not want voter reform. And it's extremely disappointing when left-wing politicians don't want voter reform either. And that's why it's so hard, especially in Canada, to get any voter reform through whatsoever. Take Justin Trudeau, for example. One of his main campaign promises, was electoral reform back in 2015. Do you remember?
2015 election will be the last federal election using first past the post.
I was 15 at the time, so I couldn't vote. But if I could vote, I would have voted for Justin, specifically for that reason. It's something I am greatly passionate about and I think could really solve a lot of problems in our government. But of course, once Trudeau got elected, he realized, oh, it's the old method that got me elected. Why would I want to change it? So like not even a year into his prime ministership, he canceled that. And to this day, in federal politics in Canada, we still use this shitty first past the post system. And what makes it all so enraging is that when Justin Trudeau stepped down after 9 years of leading the country, he said his biggest regret, after all the shit he's been through in the past 9 years, his biggest regret was not passing electoral reform.
If I have one regret, I do wish that we'd been able to change the way we elect our governments in this country so that people could simply choose a second choice or a third choice on the same ballot.
Dude decided not to do it like the moment he was elected. And honestly, it's shit like that that makes the feeling of voting and going out to the polls seem so hopeless. Because even when parties promise for electoral reform, when parties get elected based off the fact that they're bringing in electoral reform, they can just get into power and say, nope, we're not gonna do it. We like the shitty methods that we got elected on. And it fascinates me how so many European countries have been able to adopt ranked choice voting and other voting methods in their countries. It's definitely something I'm gonna wanna do research on going forward. Maybe we can learn from Europe and how to actually get electoral reform in our government. So whenever anybody asks you why or how Doug Ford won this election, it really is as simple as the process we use to vote. First past the post. But if Ontario had ranked choice voting and people actually got what they wanted, I doubt we'd ever see a PC conservative government in charge again. And honestly, it's kind of hard to envision an Ontario that's not dominated by the PC party in the future for this reason. Like the left-wing vote is just going to continuously get split up between the NDP and the Liberals, and the PCs are going to win on a minority of votes every time. And if that pisses you off like me, know that there really is a simple, easy answer to solve these problems. It's really just about having the courage to fight it. Fight for electoral reform in Ontario. Talk about it to everybody. Your friends, your coworkers, your family. If you think the political system in Ontario is unfair, like I do, then you should be unbelievably passionate about electoral reform like I am. So please, if you ever see a candidate, whenever you're talking politics with somebody, even casually, mention electoral reform. Let us normalize this policy again. It hasn't really been talked about that much since 2015 when Trudeau promised it and then went back on it. We need electoral reform to be at the forefront of the conversation in politics always. Our electoral system in this province goes against the majority of what Ontarians want. It's time to fight for ranked choice voting in Ontario and the federal government and the municipal government and everywhere. Share this video, start the conversation. Let's get this shit through in my lifetime, please. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hate how serious my videos have become sometimes. So how about I end this video by making an absolute fool of myself? Thank you guys for watching. I can't stop this feeling. Yeah, deep inside of me. Ooh. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. Oh,